Welcome to Dinar Info News, the go-to source for everything you didn't see on mainstream media. I'm thrilled to have you with me today, because what we're about to dive into is nothing short of remarkable. Grab your coffee, settle in, and let's unravel the truth behind the rapidly unfolding reality in currencies that many assume to be overlooked. Today, we're exposing what's really happening with the Iraqi Dinar IQD, the Vietnamese Dong VND, and the Zimbabwe Dollar ZIM unfolding in real time, while the mainstream media remains strangely mum. Picture this: the financial world is shifting beneath our feet, and you, the viewer who values insight and truth, deserve to be the first to know. In this exclusive deep dive, we'll unpack what's driving the sudden movements in these currencies, explore the reasons behind the media's silence, and help you understand what it can mean for investors, for hope, for strategies going forward. Imagine headlines that could read, RV goes live, IQD, VND, ZIM rates exposed. But instead, those headlines are non-existent. That's where Dinar Info News steps in, to fill the gaps, dissect the reality, and give you the context they won't. Let's begin with the Iraqi Dinar. For years, speculation has swirled around. It debates, hopes, rumors about a potential revaluation, often abbreviated as RV. Many in our community have followed this narrative with cautious optimism. Now, unlike anything before, there's a compelling undertone of momentum building. Behind closed doors, whispers between policymakers and financial institutions appear to be turning into actions. The Central Bank of Iraq has reportedly moved to stabilize various fiscal sectors, calibrating interest rates, negotiating investment inflows, and preparing frameworks for future exchange rate normalization. That's not something you'll likely read in your daily headlines. It's important to break down what that might look like: a move from a highly managed exchange rate toward a significantly stronger valuation. If executed, it could have serious implications not only for those holding IQD but for Iraq's broader financial credibility and long-term economic trajectory. And yet, mainstream outlets remain silent. This could be due to geopolitical sensitivities, fear of market disruption, or simply a lack of appetite to cover a story without official confirmation. But from our vantage point, that silence is as meaningful as any press release. Moving seamlessly to the Vietnamese Dong, another currency flying under the radar for most global investors. Vietnam's economy has been on a strong growth path or bust. Manufacturing, booming exports, tech sector expansion, and increasing foreign direct investment. Yet, few outside specialized circles are paying attention. Amid all this, signals are emerging. Whisper soft moves from the State Bank of Vietnam, adjusting currency guidance. Talk of a phase shift toward a more market-driven rate, and subtle loosening of controls that have held the Dong deceptively low. This could pave the way for a revaluation that brings the Dong more in line with fundamentals. If that sounds enticing, that's because it is, especially considering the possible ripple effects across trade balances, investor confidence, and the yields on Vietnamese-denominated assets. Still, this story barely registers in mainstream business news. Why? Possibly because Western markets are fixated elsewhere. Higher-profile currency dramas, inflation fears, or political theatrics steal the spotlight. The quiet nature of this movement is no accident. It gives states more leeway to manage transitions without triggering speculative swings. And then there's Zimbabwe, a country accustomed to currency chaos, hyperinflation, and policy whiplash. Yet, even here, something intriguing is happening. The Zimbabwe Dollar ZIM has been on a seesaw, battered by economic instability, but also showing signs of grassroots stabilization efforts. Resource-backed deals, mining revenues, and informal gold markets are quietly bolstering the currency. Discussions are afoot about pegging or revaluing ZIM, even if unofficially tied to commodity inflows and hard currency support. Imagine that Zimbabwe, a puzzle piece in the global currency mosaic, potentially engineering a comeback. It's not breaking news in the usual news outlets, but among those tracking commodity-influenced microeconomies, it's a developing story with strategic implications. Whether you hold ZIM or you're just interested in how distressed currencies might stabilize, this is a narrative rich with possibility. What's the pattern here? 3 currencies, 3 fundamentally different economies, one common thread, potential reevaluations, and one equally compelling fact: the media remains largely silent. That silence isn't benign. It's not because these developments aren't happening. Instead, It reflects a broader tendency of mainstream outlets to focus on headline grabbing, Western-centric narratives, major central bank shifts, political scandals, wars, or crises. The subtly significant adjustments in currencies like IQD, VND, the IM don't fit that mold. That's why this moment is uniquely suited for Dinar Info news, to bridge the gap between nuanced developments and public awareness. Now, let's talk about why this matters, why this script should matter to our audience. First, if you're invested in any of these currencies or are watching for revaluation potential, being in the know ahead of official announcements can be empowering. You're not just a bystander, you become an informed observer who understands market sentiment, geopolitical drivers, and monetary policy nudges. Second, if you're a broader market watcher or investor, this story underscores how powerful narratives form in the absence of loud headlines. Those quiet, behind-the-scenes moves often presage large adjustments, sometimes with first-mover advantage, to those who recognize them. Third, from a news consumer standpoint, acknowledging the media's silence invites critical thinking. It asks, what else are they not telling me? How much of what shapes markets is happening out of sight? As we progress through today's coverage, I want you to imagine you're at the center of a tipping point where whispers become reality. Let's dive deeper. On the IQD front, consider the repercussions for Iraqi expatriates, foreign exchange bureaus, and the diaspora sending remittances. A revaluation, even modest, could dramatically alter purchasing power, inflation expectations, and cross-border flows. What safeguards are in place? How prepared are institutions and individuals to react quickly? These aren't theoretical questions, they're urgent. Meanwhile, for the VND, the global supply chain dominoes are falling fast. A Vietnamese currency shift could shift Vietnam from manufacturing arbitrage destination to higher margin, domestic value economy. That dynamic could recalibrate relationships with China, recalibrate labor cost assumptions, and attract a different kind of investor. Watching central bank policy, inflation targeting, and export performance will be key indicators. If the currency moves, the commentary and analysis must keep pace. In Zimbabwe's case, the story is raw, human, and resource intense. Communities adapting, sectors pivoting, resource flow stabilizing yet battling entrenched skepticism. A stabilization signal in ZIM isn't just monetary, it's symbolic. The possibility of rebuilding trust, reigniting domestic commerce, and reframing Zimbabwe's economic narrative. The media's silence here cuts deep. If nobody's reporting, how do people engage? How do they trust? That's where Dinar Info News steps up, not just as a channel, but as a conduit bringing buried stories to the surface. Contextualizing currency, movements in human terms, macroeconomic angles, and real-world impact. We must also acknowledge the risks. Currency revaluation stories are fraught with speculation, fraud, and hype. We must stay grounded. That means sourcing credible signals, central bank communiques, government budgets, legislative changes, international lender dialogues. It also means tempering enthusiasm with caution. Just because silence exists doesn't mean moves are imminent. Equally, noise in forums doesn't mean action. That's why in upcoming episodes, we'll show you how to monitor reliable sources, differentiate genuine financial pivots from rumor mills, and recognize red flags. Because being informed also means being skeptical, wisely so. I want to pause and emphasize that this coverage, this very script, reflects Dinar Info News' mission to break the silence, to spotlight the overlooked, to empower you. If you're hearing this now, you're part of a community grounded in curiosity, caution, and the pursuit of understanding. You're not chasing hype. You are piecing together signals, evaluating probabilities, and planning with clarity, and that's precisely why this channel exists. Looking ahead, our narrative will evolve as more information surfaces. We'll be tracking central bank meetings, official rate slabs, investor statements, currency swaps, and geopolitical carrots or sticks. We'll bring interviews with regional analysts, economists tracking emerging markets, and voices from the ground in Iraq, Vietnam, and Zimbabwe. Our goal: help you parse the data, verify the signals, and stay informed, especially when the airwaves are silent. That leads me back to one core insight. Silence can be informative. What you don't hear can matter as much as what you do. When major media doesn't pick up currency shifts, ask why. When officials speak in soft tones instead of press releases, probe the motives. When forums buzz, but official feeds don't, differentiate speculation from substance. And when you see all three currencies, IQD, VND, ZIM all showing low volume activity, quietly moving. Hold that against global narratives, because that's fertile ground for stories worth watching. All right, folks, DH.